We were on.
Hi, everybody. You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast. We're the #1 internet singles talk network. And this is a boy and girl thing. We don't have the boy. And I have Kathy Lamb with me. Hey, Kathy.
Isn't that just like a guy?
So introduce yourself, Kathy.
I'm Kathy, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Cece, for inviting me.
We're friends, so Kathy, we hang out a lot and talk about men, and so I thought Kathy would be the ideal person to be on the show here. So,
yeah, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to that kind of thing.
Yeah, Derick's calling me now. Hey. Yes. Maybe you have the wrong link. Do you have the link for this week's show? Not last week's show? Yeah, that might be what the problem is. Yeah. Okay, try that. Okay, thanks. Okay. The boy is late. The boy is late. Well, let's talk a little bit. We'll just chat, girl chat. We were talking before we got on the show here. We were talking about casual sex. So let's have that conversation again. We should have recorded it or went live so you guys could hear it. But I don't personally believe, and I know Kathy, we talked about this. I don't personally believe you can have casual sex. I don't think you can. All right, here's the boy. Let's bring him up. Let's see. Hey.
Hi. You hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you. You had the wrong, must have had the wrong link.
No, well, I had the correct link at first, but then I got out and I went back in with the wrong link. But I don't know why my computer is slipping out of the setting. I put it on for the microphone use, so I just had to make that adjustment.
It's got the coronavirus.
Well, very cool. We're glad you could join us. We were starting to talk about casual sex. So what do you think?
Well,
let's talk about this because we talked about it before you came on, not on air, but we did talk about it.
Okay.
We were actually discussing a video that we listened to this week, and it was about two guys talking about casual sex, and they had a lot of interesting things to say.
Okay.
It opened my eyes a lot and made me think differently.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they said, so.
So, not knowing what they said, what do you think?
Well, from a male-female perspective, I think both parties enjoy casual sex. And I think women have the ability to have more casual sex than men. I might be wrong, but I think both do. Well, the thing is that when people think of casual sex, they think of meeting someone and having sex with a stranger. But that's just one form of casual sex. So let's go to some mathematics. All right? You remember in school we studied sets and subsets and so on. All right? So I would say casual sex is a set, right? It's a whole set. Subset would be sex with a stranger, sex with a good friend, sex with somebody who you have known for a while, but not even a good friend, but you just happen to have some feelings that evening or whatever, or might have been drinking together, whatever it is, and you end up in bed with each other. So casual sex can take several different forms. If you're speaking about just meeting a stranger and having sex, number one, it's very risky these days because you have no connection to the person. And so that's one thing. And then the second thing to me is that I would think in that scenario, men are probably more apt to do that than women. But even with a man having one-night stands with a stranger, it has to be a woman participating somewhere along the line. Right? So I think everybody has casual sex, unless you are restricted by morality or religion or something.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Kathy?
Well, I think a lot of us are restricted by that. But anyways, as far as casual sex was, I was telling Cece earlier that my idea of casual sex before I listened to this video was like a one-night stand. And no sex with no feelings. And there's nothing committing you together for the next day or anything. And so after listening to this video, and I only listened to half of it, I mean, there was so much more to listen to that I'd like to hear the rest of it. But they kind of opened my eyes a little bit, and they said that when you talk about it ahead of time and you tell each other what you're really and then Derick, you came in mind because they started talking about communication, because that's your thing, is communication. If you talk about it ahead of time, what you're expecting out of it and all of this, and if you're both agreeing that this is just for this one night and that's all it's going to be, and then okay, you have the questions like how many people you've been with, and then this and all that. And so I really think that talking about what you expect out of this casual sex thing is important. If that's
it's important, and sometimes I would say sex happens even without the talk. Because sometimes people just go by their feelings.
But most people won't talk about it.
And the moment. And there's no real talk, you go by the feelings. You just, a lot of people sometimes end up with guilty feelings after, and a whole lot of all the dash. But, I say, look, you just enjoyed yourself, concentrate on that, move on. You can't redo it.
Okay, my 2 cents is it's a load of crap. Okay, because there's no such thing as casual sex. There's no such thing, because when 2 people are together, it's an emotional reaction, and therefore it's not casual. There's nothing casual about having sex with someone. Now, what might be casual is about the relationship afterwards, but it's not casual when you're actually having sex. And so I think it's what your expectation is after that, and then how you feel after that, and where it goes after that. But I just I think it's a load of crap. I think guys came up with this casual sex thing just so that they could have casual sex and think it's okay. Women is saying, yeah, come on, it's okay to have casual sex.
And then the women are thinking, oh, I got this guy, I'm having sex with him, so we're going to have a relationship. And then it never happens, and she wonders why. And he'll be like, I told you.
Yes. That's exactly, you're exactly right, Kathy. That's exactly what it is. So now I think it's a load of BS, and I just don't think. I think women more so than men do have emotions when they have sex, and so it's not as casual. And I think a lot of times when they do, they're hoping for more in the relationship. Now, I'm not saying there might not be a one-night stand, and maybe exactly it's a business trip and you're going to go home and you're going to do whatever. Maybe that does happen once in a blue moon, but on the majority of dating or whatever, bull crap. I
think it happens. I mean, look, there are websites now where you can go just to get a hookup.
Well, that's different, isn't it? It's not casual.
But it's casual, because if it is not, let me put it this way.
What's the difference between casual, one-night stand, and a hookup and a booty call?
Let's get that. Maybe that's what it is.
That's the same thing as far as I'm concerned, because to me, casual sex is sex without any commitment, without the feelings of 2 people having a love relationship or having any expectations of each other. So if you're engaging in a sexual relationship without all the trimmings of being in a relationship, a wider relationship, being in love with each other or anything, that's casual sex. Look, from my personal experience, I could give you stories. Okay.
We're going to be here all night.
All right. So let's leave the stories alone. But to me, women are just as, look, society had us believe for a long time that men were the ones who wanted sex, right? And women didn't necessarily want sex. In some societies, they even practiced the barbaric process of female circumcision, right? Because in those societies it is felt, and they don't even understand female physiology, that a climax doesn't only take place at the point of the clitoris and so on, but they wanted to take away the pleasure, any pleasure a woman could have from having sex. Because women weren't supposed to experience pleasure, right? It's a man's thing. Mm-hmm. It's not so. Women enjoy sex just as much as men. Sure.
We're not saying that, but I think in the context of what we're talking about, which is dating, we're talking about dating. So when we say casual sex and dating, we're not, I think that we need to clarify it. Is it a hookup? Is it a one-night stand? Then it's very clear.
What in your mind?
It's intentional, right? It's an intentional sex.
Well, of course. And I'm saying that women have that intention going into having sex sometimes. So what's the difference as far as you're concerned between a hookup and a one-night stand?
See, to me, if you're referring to, I think a lot of men refer to the term casual sex is simply when they're out dating and they're trying to push the relationship, they're trying to push the sex before building a relationship. So they kind of push the casual sex, and it ends up being just a one-night stand. It's doesn't grow into something more. And so the woman is thinking, okay, well, I've been out with him a couple times, and I think, all right, we're starting to build a relationship. But to the guy, it's just casual sex. But to her, it's like, no, I'm building something.
Yeah.
I call that miscommunication. Mm-hmm. Okay. And in some cases, I would say it's deception. Mm-hmm. All right. And yes, that situation happens, that women get hurt like that. That some men choose to conduct themselves in a less than chivalrous manner, right? And that happens. But that is just one aspect, because that's a man wanting a sexual relationship and a woman wanting a love relationship or committed relationship.
And that
is not casual sex.
And that is where you need to have the communication so that ahead of time what you're getting into. And so the guy can say, I told you so.
Yeah. Well, I always tell women, you need to have your head on, man. It's like, I've often said, leave off, if you want to have a relationship with somebody, forget about sex for, I would say, 3 months or whatever. Build up a friendship, get to know this person.
I have never met a guy that was willing to wait that long.
Me neither.
And that's
because their excuses, especially being older, they're afraid they're going to be dead.
If he's not willing to wait that long, then you know that he doesn't really.
Well, I've never.
I don't think. I think in our age group, no.
Going anyway, they're like, I can't wait for this. I'm going to go.
Right. And the other thing is, if they can wait for it, it's usually because they can't do anything anyhow. So, there you go.
That's true.
But the thing is that and that's the thing with women.
Yeah.
You think that a guy isn't willing to wait that long, and you think that you want this guy. So you go ahead and you say, let's have the sex. And what you're looking for and what he's looking for would be completely different. By that time, it's no longer casual sex. By that time, you have expectations, you have needs, and he has different expectations and needs from you, because if he's pressing you for sex, then at least take the time out to discuss where is this going, you know. If it is, now there are some women who just want the sex, you know, and they'll tell you, I mean, women, hey, I'm not interested in you, I just want to go to bed with you.
Yeah.
I mean, there is that.
That's our competition.
Very well said. Yeah. I agree with what Kathy's saying too. Is like, I think then, you know, I guess the difference between the casual sex thing is the conversation. It's having that conversation.
It is.
And if you're ready to move forward and do that so that you don't get hurt, you need to have that straight out conversation. And then if he does something deceiving, then that's just his character.
I'm going to try that the next time I'm interested in somebody. I'm going to try that, like, you know, have that communication conversation.
Communication, man, because, you know, look, people even go into marriages, right? They meet each other. They never have a proper conversation about life, right? Beliefs, expectations, and so on. And the sex is good and it's enjoyable, right? And at some point it changes from friends for benefits with benefits, and you get into a relationship, and next thing you're into a marriage, and next thing you're into a divorce. All right, because, excuse me, you didn't properly communicate what your expectations were. You didn't properly communicate your deeper feelings about stuff and so on. And therefore, the only real connection you had was sex. You know? And sometimes in sex, you look for the next adventure. Might be years.
What do you mean?
I don't know about that. Kathy, do you do that? I don't think we look for the next adventure.
What do you mean the next adventure?
Like you said, that when you have, you know,
why do women cheat then?
Someone, then you're looking for the next adventure. I don't think many women really.
But you may be looking for something more than you have.
That's a male statement. That's a very male statement.
I'm a man.
I know, but that's a very male statement. I don't think women. I don't feel that women.
Okay, well, I might be wrong, but then why do women cheat?
Not all women cheat.
I didn't say all women cheat. All men don't cheat either.
Yeah.
I said, why do women cheat?
Why would a woman cheat?
Why do they cheat?
Why would a woman cheat?
I don't know.
Let's see. What would be a reason? Well,
I think it's lack of. I think a woman would cheat because there's lack of emotional connection. Most women don't really have sex based on just sex. You know, they base it. Most women have sex based on emotion, that emotional connection they have with someone.
That's true.
And so when they go out with somebody else or they step out on a relationship, it's because that is lacking in their relationship. Generally, the husband isn't connecting with her anymore.
Yeah, there's something missing out of the relationship. Yeah. But maybe it's that way for a man too. You know, maybe there's something missing. You know, we tend to think that a man is cheating because he just wants more sex.
No.
You know.
Mm-mm.
No,
not always. And I think that's true.
That's how it's all about.
I think sometimes it's about their manlyhood. It's about them feeling
macho,
desired. You know.
No, sometimes it's about not even having proper communications with your wife at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not feeling happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are a variety of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And some men, I say, should never be married, really, because they're what I call men who have chain relationships from one relationship to another. You know, so what's the use in getting married?
Well, here's the thing: is if they're bouncing around like that, they're truly self-centered. Because to have a relationship with someone, you have to really give a lot. You know, you have to give a lot to your partner.
There's a lot of
compromising.
Yeah. There's a lot of compromising. There's a lot of, you know, and then, you know, to me, people are so, I don't want to say formal, but, you know, I think that a relationship should be a natural thing with natural communications where you all can tell each other what the hell you want to tell each other without hating each other, and be open and honest about it, you know. And that is lacking in most relationships.
How about you, Kathy? Because you were married for a long time before your husband passed.
I never cheated.
Yeah, no. But I mean, your relationship was good. I mean, as far as communication and.
Yeah, we had communication and we talked all the time. And we just, everything was good. So yeah, I can't complain. I can't say anything about that.
Well, that is very good. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that tells us that the key, really, truly the key to any relationship is not sex.
It's communication.
Not all of that other stuff. It's communication. It truly is communication.
It's communication.
Yeah, and that's totally, kind of don't want to be talking about the first because my daughter might listen to this and I don't want my daughter to hear me talking about
a lot of relationships too.
The first one didn't have much communication and you know, good. You know, so that's all I'm going to say about that. So
Well, and I think too that I know in myself in dating, that's one of the things that I struggle with in the dating arena is really that connection with someone that truly, you know, I dated a guy for 4 years and he didn't even understand really what I did for, you know, like what my passion is. He could never really get it. You know, all for him, it was just about dollars and cents. If you're not making any money, why are you doing it? You know, he didn't really get the passion behind everything that I do, helping people through divorce and, you know, helping them get through it and the struggles of getting them to the other side and, you know, seeing them get remarried. And, you know, he didn't find that, didn't understand.
Let me put it very simply for you.
Yeah.
You are a whale.
I'm a wheel.
Wheel. A wheel.
I'm weird.
No. You know, dolphins and whales.
I'm a what now? I'm a
WHEEL.
A whale. You know dolphins.
Oh, a whale.
A whale.
A whale. You're a whale, and he is a shark.
And he's a shark. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So because when we look at human personality, sometimes, especially in some communication processes and sales and so on, you have whales, which are those who want to help people, and that's the most important thing, to help people, to see people do better and so on. Mm-hmm. You have sharks, and all sharks are really concerned about is the money. Mm-hmm. You have urchins who are introverts, right? And who, you know, they kind of into themselves. And you have dolphins who are very playful and non-committal. So those are the 4 categories we looked at. And so if you are the type of person who only wants, you know, your main passion is really helping people and so on, then you will be incompatible with someone who's a shark, unless you all can work that out somehow, right?
Yeah, and all the sex in the world isn't going to help that, is it?
Because, you know, after the sex, you still have to face the other things that you deal with, right? And if you're an urchin who is a very introverted, quiet person, the dolphin might make a good partner for you because that dolphin is playing with everybody out there, right? And flitting around. So, you know, one has to realize the different personalities that you deal with. In neurolinguistic programming, we are big on something called building rapport, right? So if you go in and you see somebody's an urchin, you get as quiet as that person and so on, and to build a connection with them and so on. So it's and people don't consider all these different aspects when they're going into relationships, right? They just deal with mainly a lot of times a physical attraction.
Right.
And yeah, we do good together, we have fun together. And where is the relationship? You know? So there are serious things that people have to discuss and communicate with each other about when you are getting into a relationship. And most people don't do it.
No. I think you're right. And that's why we date, right? That's why we're going through the dance of dating, right?
That's why we go through the dance of dating.
Yeah.
But then sometimes the dance is a waltz for somebody, and for the other person, it's a disco party, right? So
dance of dating is another issue. Is because I think that we've seen the moves. You know, when a guy is putting the move on you, and to me, sometimes I look at him like, okay, I know this move.
Right.
It's like, why don't you just say it? You don't just make the move. Just say what you. and it goes on, and then we play this non-speaking little dance, and I really don't like that. I'd like to just say, okay, you're interested in me, right? Okay, well then let's go on to the date. Let's go out to dinner, let's do some things, and don't put your hand on my leg and act as wait to see what I'm going to do. Just
and I'm saying in this day and age, right? In this modern era that we live in, that it's okay. It's okay for a woman to come out and say, hey, I've noticed something. Are you interested in me, or what's going on? Or you know what? I think I kind of like you. I want to get to know you. It's okay for a woman to say that now. It wasn't okay in the past eras. If a woman said that, she was looked upon as being forward and oh.
I think it's still looked upon that way because I think it depends on how a person was raised. And we live in a strange generation because we have, some people that are old school, some people who have graduated from old school, and and we've got to determine, what type of person that is that you're dealing with, Well,
I mean, if you are in new school and that person is in old school, I don't know how they're going to work. In the first place. So better you find out.
Why do women have to say, hey, what's going on here? What's going on with this? Are we in a relationship or not? Why aren't men saying it?
I'm not saying that women have to say that. I'm not saying that that's a woman's role. I'm saying that.
But I'm just saying that for us to feel comfortable, for a woman to feel comfortable knowing that the relationship is progressing, why is it that we have to usually ask, like, what's how are you feeling? What's going on here? How come the guys just won't say up front? Why do you guys have that block?
And then they go and say, back off. You're moving too fast.
Yeah. I think number one is because men are deathly afraid of rejection.
We are too.
Yeah.
Right? And number two is that you don't want to appear to be too pushy, and that's why I say sometimes let the relationship grow, mushroom, talk about things, express your feelings. To me, look, if you're interested in someone, it's better you tell them, look, hey, this is me. I'm interested in you. I'm not really interested in just having a friendship. I'd love it to go further than that, and let the person express how they feel, and if it doesn't look like a possibility of what you want, hey, it's either you move on completely, or you can. Some people say, okay, oh yeah, we could be friends because I really like you, and you can develop a good friendship, or you if you choose to continue trying, you might convince the person at some point. You know what? But at least you know where you stand at the moment, instead of acting like it's a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's humans. It's human relationships we're dealing with.
No, I think it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal not knowing where you stand in the relationship.
It's a big deal not knowing,
right.
But I'm saying it's not a big deal to find out where you stand.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So to me,
I have had guys go, they'll say, like, there was one guy that I asked, and he said, well, I'm here, aren't I? I'm like, well, and I said, well, what does that mean exactly? He said, well, if I wasn't into you, I wouldn't be here. And it's like, well, okay, So, but what exactly does that mean? And then I've had other guys where, in my relationships, I'll come in and they'll say, I cleared out this side of the closet and I opened a drawer for you. And and so when they do things like that, okay, they're making a space for you in their life. They're doing that. So you kind of get a little bit of an understanding of what's going on in their head.
And then your assumptions kick in.
Well, then it makes me think, okay, what exactly are we talking about here? It is true. But then again, I guess it's the communication. But it allows that openness. It allowed that conversation to start happening,
Because to me, one of the important things would be, what do you say after you say hello?
What do you say? Or what do you see?
What do you say after you say hello? I mean, yeah, he's saying, look, I've cleared out this space, right? And you're saying to yourself, oh, he's making space in his life for me, right? Mm-hmm. That to me is saying hello, right? Hello isn't necessarily on the happening all the time. That to me is saying
the welcome mat is there for sure.
Well, it might be welcome. Mm-hmm. It might be welcome for a month, 6 months, a year. It might be a conditional welcome, right?
And it might be you're a slob, so I'm giving you space,
right? So after that,
it's a good gesture,
huh?
It's a good gesture, though.
It's a wonderful gesture, absolutely beautiful. But then there has to be a conversation taking place after that gesture.
Yeah. I think that is. I think when that had happened, then it was an invitation to let's discuss this because
precisely.
And I remember saying, so what exactly does this mean? What does this mean to you? And so, then the conversation started. And then the relationship kept growing. But but there has to be, I don't know. I just kind of think sometimes that the men are in the driver's seat with that, even though the men always say the women are in the driver's seat. But I think the guys are kind of in the driver's seat and
they definitely are.
Mm-hmm.
I would say not necessarily.
Well, if he was the one to say, I opened up the space for you. Now, if she was to say, I opened up the space for you, that it's totally different. Don't you think?
It might be different, but the conversation still has to take place.
Yeah.
Because what does that really mean? Does it mean that from now on, if I look at a guy, you're going to be angry? I mean, what the hell does it mean, really? So there has to be a whole lot of conversation.
Well, yeah.
Coming along with that. And you have to be comfortable with the conversation.
The agreement to become exclusive for, that for you to be in that, have gone that far for that conversation.
Yeah, I think so.
But then sometimes when people go the next step, their expectations change and their demands change. Look, we live in a world, right? And this is to me very disturbing, where women are abused every day, right? Where they find themselves in traps, in a relationship that is a trap. And they get abused, and some women get so abused that psychologically they conform to that relationship and the abuse that is taking place within it. Mm-hmm. And it's a sad thing, but it's a true thing.
Yeah, I and I agree with you on that. And I remember like dating in my relationships, but then when I got married, it seems like something happened. It seemed like almost that there was an ownership.
And that's what I'm getting at.
There was a shift that happened, which makes me a little bit shy, I think, of having that type of relationship again, because I don't ever want to be owned again, like that. Yeah, so I know what you're saying, but that's beyond dating. It's beyond. It's when you're really deep into a relationship.
Well, when a man or a woman says, "I'm making space for you," I've shifted my clothes aside in my closet, and I've left 3 drawers in my chest of drawers open for you, whatever. To me, that's going beyond just dating.
Yeah.
They haven't seen how many shoes I have.
You only gives you one hanger.
It's never opened a space for me.
Right. And so you have to, I mean, if you want to continue that dance, you want to know whether it's a disco or whether it's a waltz or whether it's a cha-cha-cha or a tango or whatever.
This is something else I've learned in this new way of dating is and being on these dating sites. And I've learned a lot that men want the woman to make the first move, to open up and say hello first, or to go up to the guy and start a conversation. And we're not used to that. Us older women, we're not used to that. We're used to the man doing what the man used to do. He'd come up and start talking, or he'd say hello, and he'd show us interest in you first. So it's really, really hard for us to go out there and do that. They don't understand that because they're used to these other women actually doing that. And you know what I mean?
Well,
absolutely.
Here's the thing: is the pool, because of our age, the pool is getting smaller, and so there's less men. So women are getting more aggressive. And then when you've got the ones from old school, like you and me, I know we're a little bit similar. And when we get on the dating sites, then we're like, okay, now what do we do? So what I do is I just go and just do a smile or something like that. And if they don't come back, then that's kind of the way I mean.
I always look to see if they deleted my little 1 or 2.
Well, there are some.
You look at see if they deleted it. I've never done that.
Well, yeah, on POF you can see that, but
okay. Yeah. Well, they if they don't, I can see that they've looked at your profile.
Yeah.
So when you send them a smile or whatever, and they look at your profile, but then they don't contact you, then it's obviously not.
Have you gotten messages that say, "I like your profile," but then you look to see if they looked at your profile and they didn't?
Well, you're dealing with
you gotta watch what you say.
Sure. But there are some dating sites out there that the men cannot make the first move. The women are the ones who would indicate they're interested in a man.
I think that no. Oh, you mean there's some that are definitely like that.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not on those sites. I don't know what sites you're on there.
I'm not none. Actually none.
Yeah. But none. I don't know. I don't think I don't know. I don't know if the dating is not as easy.
It's not. It really isn't.
It's not because
even when I was younger, I had a hard time with it, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not good dating material. I don't know.
No,
I don't think so.
Everybody knows you. That you're gorgeous and you have a warm heart and you're fun. And
I've never heard that before. I think that the key is getting to someone who, communicating to someone who has like interest and who has an attraction and that kind of thing. I mean, because listen, it's wild out there. The whole social media thing and the digital communication world is wild. You don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know, what kind of crazy people out there. You don't know what kind of beautiful, wonderful people out there either.
That's right. That's right.
Well,
I think too that a lot of times we tend to, because we haven't dated in a long time, we come out of long-term relationships and then we try to get back and start dating. We date like when we were younger. We look at the pictures and we think, oh my God, they look old. Well, I mean, they're the same age as us. So we look old too, you know what I mean? So we haven't kind of gotten, and I've kind of made that shift now. I've started to make that shift where I'm realizing that, okay, he's not bad looking for someone, in his late 60s. I mean,
yeah.
Well, some people even put younger pictures on there.
Yeah.
So that's the trick. That's what you got to do is put your picture, of how old you are, and then put it when you were younger and say, if you like this younger picture,
that could be a disaster for some people, I tell you. I mean,
that's right. Because I am still this person.
It's still me, You may not think so, but it's me.
Yeah, right? I know.
Oh, my God.
I don't know. I guess we just have to be more open-minded, but it is hard, and you kind of know what you want,
Yeah, and you really have to know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know what you want, you'll know who you want or what type of person you want. And as you said, you also have to be open-minded. I mean, I would say if you get 80-85% of what you think you want in your life, well, that's probably as good as it's going to get.
Yeah, you can't have it all. And,
you can't have 100%.
And, if you can accept, 85% or 75%, that's pretty good. And, you can work through the other 25% and then compromise with it.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm probably not 100% of what somebody wants either, but, hopefully they would work with the other 25%.
All right.
Oh my God, now we're doing percentages. We're saying,
I always agree with that
because 75%. I might go down to 65%.
Then it become rising a whole lot. I mean, I always say, look, if I'm 80,
as long as they don't tell me that their previous relationship was, so much more beautiful than I was, or and all.
Lord! If someone says that to you,
relationship.
The thing I never do is to discuss people's previous relationships.
It's taboo.
And I don't discuss my previous relationships with someone that I have an interest in, who has an interest in me. I'm saying, look, this is me. I'm here. I'm now. Let's see what happens.
Okay, there is a line here. I think that when you're dating, when you're starting to date and you're starting to form a relationship, I agree with that. But I think as you're moving forward into a longer term relationship, I think someone has to they need to understand you a little bit, because you might have come from trauma, you might have come from something else that might be triggered or whatever. So I think it's very important that you let certain things.
Well,
but you don't have to get details.
Those things,
sexual experiences, and
right? Those things can be discussed as they come up.
Right.
Well, okay. Let me say something here. Now, if you come from a long relationship, even if you like me, okay, I'm going to use me as an example. I came from a long relationship, and I've been out of a relationship for a long time, but I did have a previous life. With a relationship, and along, and so my memories, I have memories, and I'm not going to suppress my memories by not talking about them ever again, And so, just like I wouldn't expect them to, suppress their memories just because, she might get jealous, I just don't want them saying, comparing me or, making me feel insecure about myself because, I'm not as good as the other person was, and
that's what I mean by leaving that in the past, because once you get into the comparative analysis situation,
Well, you should never do that. I mean, even when you're talking about, even when you start to share certain things, it should never be about comparison.
It shouldn't be about comparison.
It's really about experiences. Like, for instance, you could say, "Oh, well, I remember when my ex and I, or my ex-husband, or my, we traveled here and we had such a great time. This was a beautiful place to experience." That doesn't mean anything. So it's those kind of things that I think that your past has brought you to where you're at, and that's who you've evolved to the person that you are now. And there's reasons that you do certain things. There's reasons that you might have certain insecurities or whatever. And so I think that's a part of you, and it's not something that I think we should shelve or be afraid to discuss with our potential partners. But to compare and say, "Oh, well, she was really beautiful. Well, now I'm with you." I mean, now then you need to dump the person because he has no class whatsoever.
Right.
That you don't deserve someone like that. And that is also a form of abuse. When someone compares you to somebody else and puts you down, they're abusing you.
That's very abusive. Very abusive.
So, no, you should know that up front, and I'm sure you do. And so that's a abusive behavior which will continuously get worse.
Absolutely. I always say that mental abuse at some point turns into physical abuse.
And women do the mental abuse too, verbal abuse on men.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. But there's some women who are very abusive. And if I ever spot that in a woman, I'm gone. Because I don't want to have to deal with it. I understand you may be kind of wrong some baggage, and you may have had some issues, and you may want to judge me by the worst experiences that you've had, but I don't need that. And I cannot be your lover and your counselor at the same time. It doesn't work. So I'm gone.
Yeah. I know something I always say kind of up the front is I always say, "Don't ever hit me. Don't ever, not even in a playful way. Don't ever go there, because I have had things in my past." And so I just straight up say that. So I don't want anybody messing around. You're not raising a hand to me, not even in fun. If you think it's fun, it's not happening. And so I make it very clear. And I think that we have to do that because, it triggers certain things to us. And, we just can't. We can't tolerate certain things, and no one should ever put you down, Kathy, for like that.
No, absolutely not, and you should never tolerate that either.
I won't. Damn it, I won't.
Wait a minute. Look at me again, because you're not thinking something here. and then you say, "Here's the door."
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, don't find her. Now we know why you're single. No.
Go find that ex today you think is so much greater.
That's right, because she kicked your butt to the curb. We know how. Oh, that's funny. Well, listen, guys, our time is up. We've had a good time. We didn't even talk about, we just talked about one thing, but it's kind of fun to talk about dating and stuff, and looking at it from the guy's point of view and the women's point of view.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's fun.
We haven't even gotten into the other things, so we can probably continue this next week.
Yeah, we could do. Kathy, can you join us?
I sure can. I have to look at my calendar, but as far as I can see, yes, I can.
Yeah, she has to make sure that she has no dates around this time.
Well, all of a sudden she'll be popping up saying, "I'm sorry, I can't join you."
Right.
Okay. Well, this was a lot of fun. Bring him on board. I'll question him too. No.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you should have heard great.
That's right. We'll put him through the third degree, right? Come on,
we'll have to go through the interview with you guys.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, it was a lot of fun. So I enjoyed it very much. Thank you, guys.
Okay, it was fun. Thank you.
Okay. Bye. Listen, everyone, you're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and we hope you enjoyed the boy and girl thing as much as we did. And we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Bye.
Bye-bye.